So in this video, I'm going to show you how to start a rental business. There's a lot of chatter and people wanting to know, actually, how do I get started in actually a rental property business? Now, you really have two choices in rental properties. You have choice number one, where you can buy a property. You have choice number two, where you can rent a property. I've done both. And I'm going to tell you from experience in the 20 years I've been in real estate that buying a property in today's market is a no-no. Now, if you're really a beginner and you want to get into business with rentals, you have to think about it this way. If you go with option number one, where you actually buy the property, well, here's what you have to know. Number one, you've got to deal with banks. You've got to get interest rates. With the time of this video, we're looking at 6 to 7% interest rates. You've got down payments on a property. So think about it this way. If a property that you're looking to buy goes for $200,000, you've got to put down 20%. In most cases, for an investment property, you're looking at $40,000 out of pocket, and then you've got to furnish the properties. So if you're thinking about putting a property on Airbnb as a side business, maybe you're working a 9-to-5 job, tired of your boss, tired of the 9 to 5 hours, maybe you don't like the environment you're in, the culture sucks, and you just don't want to do it anymore, then you have another option. Well, most people need capital to get into a business. So in this video, I'm going to show you the alternative that I've been doing for the last decade as the #1 coach in the country at Airbnb, that you can actually get into real estate without buying a property. And so this video is going to share with you the two downsides of owning. The upside, obviously, is that we're going to have equity in the property, but it's a long-term play. What I'm going to show you is on the quicker side. This is where you can start generating capital very quickly without buying the property. When you're on Zillow, you actually have a choice. You can filter properties for rent, or you can filter properties for purchasing. So if we're not going to purchase, click the rent button, and now it's going to show all properties that are for rent, that are homeowners trying to rent their property. Now, I want to back up a little bit because I want to make sure that you guys understand, if you're going to get into business, it is very, very, very important that you set up an LLC. Why is that important? Something happens, somebody sues you, you got an LLC, they can sue the LLC, but they can't take any of your personal assets. So I always recommend maybe something like Prime Corporate Services. Wyoming Agents is another one. Wyoming's a great state to get incorporated no matter where you live, because it has the protection of called anonymity, where your personal information is not shown to the world. But Prime Corporate Services are very good. They've been in business for about 15 years. They can help you set up an LLC very, very effectively. That also separates you from any liability as well as lawsuits, etc. So first step, set up an LLC. Second step, go to Zillow.com. That's Zillow.com. This is where you're going to find a property. Don't go looking around the neighborhood for rent signs or, etc. It's easier just to get onto a platform like Zillow, where you can go ahead and filter properties for rent. Now, I'm going to give you these filters right here, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do. If I was looking for my first property, I'm brand new in real estate, I don't know where to go, what to do, here's exactly how I would do it. All right, so if I'm looking for my first Airbnb property, I have to know where to go first. Where are the markets? What are the best cities, right? And you guys have my city list. And if you're watching this video and you're like, I don't even know what city I should be in. Well, you've got Nashville, you've got Jacksonville, you've got Orlando, you got Scottsdale, you got Dallas, you got Houston, you've got Charleston, South Carolina, I got Greenville, South Carolina. Miami's a great market. Fort Lauderdale's a great market. If I'm going to be in California, I might be looking at Joshua Tree. I might be looking at, San Diego. These markets are really strong. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to find a market, maybe that where you don't live. See, a lot of people think like, oh, I have to live in that city to do Airbnb there. That is incorrect information. There's a lot of gurus out there teaching, oh, you should Airbnb where you live because you know the market. Well, some of that's true. But what if your market that you live in is not the greatest area to Airbnb? Just because you live there, should you Airbnb where there's more sheep than there's people? Just because you live in that city? No, you got to be able to expand your mind and know that the business is remote. And I teach it completely remote. A lot of my students don't even have properties anywhere where they live, because remember, the cleaners are in those cities already. And what we do for our students is we help you find cleaners. If I don't have one, which I have a lot of cleaners nationwide, I help you find a cleaner in the area, and they're going to be your eyes on the property because they live in the city. They're eyes on the property when you're not there. So essentially in the Airbnb business, you're doing a lot of communication with the cleaners themselves. So what I'm doing is I'm going to Zillow. I'm going to type the city here. I'm going to hit rent, not for sale. I'm going to go to the rent button. I like to stay somewhere in kind of the range of like, $1,500 to $2,500. That's kind of like a good sweet spot as far as like max rent. Low rent, $1,200, $1,500. Max rent, $2,500, $2,700. That's a good range. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the 3 and 4 bedroom properties. 3 and 4 bedroom properties generally do the best in Airbnb, right? Also, if you're looking for properties, what you guys can do is you can actually find properties, which I'm going to show you in a minute. One other thing before I get there, this is a big misconception. People think, oh, I need to get a property in an apartment complex. Okay, if I'm trying to get a landlord to let me Airbnb their property, do I have a better shot of going to a landlord who owns 123 La Street, Jack and Jill, private owner, to get them to sign a document letting me take their house and put it on a short-term rental platform? Or do I have a better shot going to an apartment complex that's owned by BlackRock? You have a better shot of going to a homeowner, right? So if you don't have a property now, like you guys don't have an Airbnb property, you're brand new, get into a house first, like a townhouse or a house, and then we can expand into apartments. Because again, we never want to sneak into someone's property, not telling them what we're doing. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're unchecking the apartment box and going with houses and townhouses. Okay. Now, last filter, one of the most important. You're going to come down here and you're going to click this on 6 months. Now, the reason why we're doing that on 6 months is probably the most important thing. If somebody just posted their property yesterday and they're putting their property up for rent, do you have a likely shot of getting them to say yes for Airbnb? Or do you have a likely shot of someone who's been sitting vacant for 6 to 12 months on Airbnb? Like if they're sitting on Zillow and they've been sitting for 6 to 12 months, they're desperate. They have a mortgage to pay. They have electric, water, sewer, taxes. Now you're going to them and saying, hey, listen, I want to take your property and I'd love to rent your property, pay every month on time, keep the property in for sale condition. These people are hurting. They're likely to let you use it for short term. So you want to make sure this is on 6 months. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to click a picture because the filter is already in. So now we can go here. What you're going to do is you're going to grab the address and we're going to copy it. And then boom, we're going to bring it to AirDNA. You're going to take the address, post it in AirDNA right here. And this is how you determine the revenue. What exactly am I going to do? Like if I'm going to get a property, I want to make sure that the property's profitable because I don't want to rent a property that's going to sit there vacant. This software is 98.6% accurate. I've been using it for 7 years. It's very, very good. So you take the address, post it here in AirDNA, make sure the bedrooms and bathrooms match whatever it says here on Zillow, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, and it gives you the revenue. And that includes your cleaning fees as well. So that property is $80,000 a year on average is what it's going to bring in. So what you guys are going to do, I'm going to do the calculations for you as well. Take the 80,400, divide that number by 12 months, then minus the rent that is on Zillow. So remember the rent is $2,120. So we're going to take that number, we're going to minus rent, $2,120, and then we're going to minus $400 for electric and water. Potential net profit, 1 property per month. And this is the reason why so many people are trying to get out of doing the job thing, sitting at a desk or out there blue collar working, because in a lot of cases, right, you can get a great property in a great area and it makes you start to think like, do I really want to go work a job every single day building somebody else's dreams where I can build my own dreams for myself and my family? I got 4 kids and a wife, guys. I don't want to sit at a desk. I don't want to go out there and blue collar work in the hard when I can go rent a property that I didn't have to buy. I didn't have to pay taxes on it. I don't have to use any personal credit to do this. And I can still get the landlord to say yes. And in a lot of cases, that does more revenue than the average American working 40 hours for it, right? It gives you the occupancy rate and tells us how much we can charge per night. Why is this data so accurate? Because if you go down here, you're going to see 5 properties. These are all on Airbnb, right? And you'll see here, for example, this property is on Airbnb and vrbo, right? It's another 4 bedroom, 2 bath. Less than a mile from the property we're looking at. This is what they're getting per night, $273. It has a 79% occupancy. It brought in $77,500 so far in revenue. And 360 days it's been listed so far. It'll bring in about $78,500 at the end of the year. Okay, 365 days in a year. It's 5 days short of being listed for 1 year. It'll do about $80,000 a year. That's why when you look at this number right here, why it's so accurate is because there's other properties that are right next to you that have the data on Airbnb that are already doing that amount or very similar to it. So this is exactly how you're going to go to Zillow to find properties, put the right filter in, check your numbers to make sure that the property's profitable. That property, this is potential net profit, guys, right? That's $4,180 a month. What we look for are properties that do 1,000 or higher. Now, everybody's background, education, work ethic, drive, and the way the property's managed all play a part. And so these are not guaranteed numbers and not typical for the normal user. But $4,180, even if you did half, think about it, right? So now we have this data. This is the last step. We have a great property here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come back over here to my Zillow. I'm gonna scroll down and I'm gonna go right here to ask a question. There's two ways you can do this, okay? This looks like a management company. They wanna fill the property. I'm gonna go here to ask a question. I'm gonna put my first and last name, my email, and my phone number, and I'm gonna take this garbage out that says I'm interested, and I'm gonna ask them, how close are you to XYZ hospital? That is gonna open up the conversation to the landlord or the management company or the realtor to answer questions. Very low pressure. It's not saying, I want to Airbnb your house. It's saying, how close are you to hospital? They're going to respond back. 2 miles, 3 miles, 10-minute drive, 5-minute drive, whatever. You want less than 3 miles and less than a 10-minute drive. That's how you know you have a good property, because it's going to be close to a hospital. Hospital draws in people that are there to work. Nurses, doctors, patients that are recovering from surgery tend to love our properties instead of being in a hotel. They want privacy. They want to be able to have, they don't have to eat out breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're going to have full kitchens. They're going to have washer and dryer. They got people knocking at 5 o'clock in the morning and running. That's what an Airbnb brings than a hospital. So you're going to ask this question. They're going to respond back. When they respond back, you are going to ask them this question. Are you open to corporate leasing? Boom. That automatically tells them, you asked how close to the hospital. Are you open to corporate leasing? They're going to respond back yes or no. If they say yes, great. When can I see the property? We have cleaners that'll go into the property for you guys and make sure the property's good so it matches everything on Zillow and you don't ever have to travel to the property. Also, the properties we get fully furnished. So I save my students $5K more a property and you don't even have to travel there. It's a great question right there. It's going to get them to open up. It's going to get them to move forward with you. If they say no, then obviously it's a no. We can then go to the next step. I'll do another video if they say no, but a lot of landlords that have been sitting for 6 months are very open to this concept. They may not know in the beginning what it is, but once you start asking questions like, are you open to corporate leasing? How close to the hospital? They feel better. And again, they're desperate. They want to get their property rented. Now that you know the numbers, I want to make sure that this is not an income claim. Everybody's background, education, work ethic, drive, and the way the properties are managed are all completely different. But in the scenario of a property making $1,000 a month, which is properties that we like, okay, this is not a long-term rental. This is a property that is going on Airbnb. So we look for properties that do $1,000 or more per month based on the AirDNA software. Now, the software itself that I was just showing you is 99% accurate numbers. The software basically grabs a lot of properties in the area of the property you're looking at. Let's say this is your property here. What AirDNA is, it says, let me grab 10 properties right around your property, and we're gonna see how they've done in the last 12 months. So you think about this. If you're looking at a property here, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and there's 10 other properties on Airbnb that have been listed for at least a year, and they're all doing $70,000 a year in revenue, where do you think you'd be? Probably $70,000 a year. And that's what the software does. It grabs the average occupancy rate, the average revenue, and it tells you how much you can charge per night. But let's go back to the main question. What are 2 things I can do in this video to help you mitigate the risks of getting a property that does not rent? Well, the first thing is the software. That's going to be first and foremost. The second thing is that's the reason why we use our LLC, because what you can do with an LLC is you're going to get a document And if you guys want the document, just put inside the comments, send me over document. If you just put it in comments, I'll go ahead and get you guys a free copy of this document. Basically, it's our lease addendum. Now, the lease addendum is a document that my attorney put together years ago. I actually had him put it together for me. I didn't build it for you guys, but I want to share it with you as a free gift for you guys making it this far in this video, that basically will protect you in the case that you ever want to walk away from a lease. For example, you rent a property for 3 months. A nuclear devastation hits. There's a tsunami. There's another COVID. And you're like, I just don't want this property anymore. Well, this document protects you because it gives you and the landlord the opt-out clause without any additional payment. So you rent it for 3 months, you have 9 months left in the lease. You don't want the property anymore for whatever reason. Guess what you can do? You can walk away from the lease scot-free. This is the key to being able to mitigate the risks of having to pay rent. But if we knew the revenue up front and we knew the occupancy rate and we had a 99% certainty by using AirDNA, I would want that landlord to give me a 20-year lease. Now, landlords don't give you a 20-year lease. They might give you 1 or 2 and then you can keep renewing. But I don't ever want my deposit back. If I can throw up a deposit on a property, and I'm going to show you guys in a minute how to get your first month of free rent, I don't ever want my deposit back, because the minute I go to a landlord and say I want my deposit back, what do you think happens to the cash flow? Cash flow is done. Right? So step number 1, we got our LLC set up. Takes a day or two, very, very quickly. Okay? Highly recommend Nevada and Wyoming. No matter where you live, these are great states. Wyoming's the only state in America that has the anonymity. Step number 2, we went to Zillow. I showed you how to get a property, how to filter it by rentals, how to get them fully furnished. I showed you how to do this with the right bedrooms, the right bathrooms, the right price point per month. I even showed you how to do it to find out the landlords that are in pain. These landlords are in pain. They've been sitting on properties vacant. They want to get their property rented. And lastly, I showed you, once you found a property, how to check the numbers. Because the numbers are what matters. The property could look great. It could be a pink house. You could be a female watching. You're like, I love this pink house. It's got a pink inside. It's got the pink door, whatever. You don't go by colors. You don't go by neighborhood. You go based on facts and data, which is the numbers from AirDNA. We also now have talked about the process of being able to protect yourself. You can walk away from a lease scot-free. So you have your data on your numbers. You can walk away scot-free with a lease addendum. What is the risk? The risk is you staying in a 9-to-5 job, because you don't know that you're being scammed. See, the biggest scam is put out there where people think, stay quiet, go get a job, right? What did your parents told you? Same thing they told me, go to school to get a good job. Go to college, right? Work mid-class, and one day you'd be successful. The problem is it worked 15 years ago. Today, in 2026, people have found a way to be entrepreneurs, to create income on the side, to be able to work from home if they want, or work at their own leisure. They don't want to be sitting at a desk or out there blue collar working their tail off every single day, right? So you have everything in place. Now, here's the key, because now that you have a property that is profitable based on the software, how do I actually reach out to a landlord? I'm going to give you that key right here. What you're going to do is you're on Zillow. When you found that property, you checked your numbers in the software, you're going to scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see a blue box that says ask a question. It's like you're asking a question directly to that homeowner. What you're going to do is you're going to click that box and you're going to ask this question. There's 6 words that you want to ask them to open up the conversation. Are you open to corporate rentals? Now, a lot of landlords are going to come back and they're going to say, I don't really know what that is. Tell me more. How's this work? Your next question is this: how far are you from XYZ hospital? See, the key to Airbnb and short-term rentals is to be close to one of these 4 H's: hills, hospitals, hotels, H2O. And if you're watching and you've made this far in the video, I will tell you these 4 H's are paramount for your success. So let me explain. What I would like for you to do is find a property that is less than 2 miles from a major hospital. Now, why is that important? Because you're going to leave the riffraff out of Airbnbs. Because I can show you how to target travel professionals. the nurses, the doctors, patients that are coming in after surgery. When these people are coming into properties, they're in there to work or they're in there to recover after surgery. You don't want people coming into vacation. That's a vacation rental. So if I had to start all over, I started in vacation rental. I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to attract travel professionals. In my title, travel professional friendly, minutes to Mayo Clinic. That's what my title might say. 5-star property, minutes to, and if I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, I'm going to put the Mayo Clinic, right? Minutes to Mayo Clinic, travel nurse friendly. What am I going to draw in? I'm going to draw in travel professionals, maybe some nurses, and I might say in a title, 2 miles from Mayo Clinic. That's also going to attract patients that are coming into Mayo Clinic. They don't want to be in a hotel. They'll stay in your property. So you now know LLC number 1. That's your first step. Okay? Prime Corporate Services. Number 2, go to Zillow, properties for rent. If you have to watch this video over and over again so that you can ingrain it in your mind of how to do it, the step number 2 is to go to Zillow, filter properties for rent, $2,700 a month like I showed you. Make sure you're targeting landlords that are in pain for 6 months or longer. Make sure you're not going for a Beverly Hills property. You need it to be a lower price point generally, and target single family and townhouses. Now you've found the properties. Take the address, move it from Zillow over to AirDNA. Make sure that the bedrooms and bathrooms match like I showed you on AirDNA. 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, right? Then it gives you the revenue. Take the revenue, divide by 12, minus rent, minus $300 to $400. Now that gives you potential net profit. Now we got a great property, it's profitable. I got to reach out to a landlord. Go back to Zillow, go to the ask a question box like you're sending them a direct message. Ask them, are you open to corporate rentals? Wait for their response. As soon as they respond back, you ask them, how close are you to XYZ hospital? I want you to pick the major hospital in the city you're looking at, and I want you to put XYZ and exchange that for that hospital. If I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, how close are you to Mayo Clinic Hospital? How close are you to Baptist Hospital? Whatever city you're in, look for the biggest hospital and put in XYZ where it is, exchange it there. Now, they're going to come back. They're going to say 2 miles, 3 miles. You want to be less than, I say 2 miles, I'm okay with 3, but you want to be less than 3 miles. So if they come back and say 24 miles, it's not a good property. I don't recommend it, because if somebody's traveling in, a nurse, a doctor, or a patient, they would just stay at a hotel if it's closer. They're not going to travel, go to your Airbnb if it's 25 miles away. So a 10-minute drive or 3 miles away from the hospital, you tend to do really good bringing in these people, okay? Now, we've now reached out to a landlord. What is our next step? Well, they're going to come back, they're going to say 2 miles. Let's just say they respond back and they say they're 2 miles away. Okay, now you know that you're 2 miles away, okay? What you're going to do from there is you're going to contact them and you're going to use the script. Inside the comments, I'll pin it for you guys. I'll give you the free script that we've used our students. We got over 3,000 students. I'm also going to pin the comment down below inside the messages. I'll give you guys the free script you can send to the landlords. They're going to come back. They're going to be eating out of your hand to work with you. And then boom, pick up the phone. They're interested. Secure the deal. Put a 1-year lease on the property. And while you're on the phone, always ask for 3 to 6 weeks of concessions, called a rent concession. Ask for 3 to 6 weeks for them to give you so that you can go in there and do whatever you got to do. Now you know that you can get fully furnished properties. Landlords in pain are willing to give you a rent concession for a couple weeks, right? And then I'll do another video and I'm going to show you guys exactly, now that you've secured the property, how do I get it onto Airbnb? This next video is going to be sharing with you how to get it onto Airbnb. What platforms, what 4 should we be on, right? How do I combine all the platforms together so it's synchronized, so that if somebody books on Airbnb, it blocks it off the rest of the calendars? How do we do our title, description, pictures? What is SEO? How do we price the property properly? How do we do our title so we draw in travel professionals versus nurses? If you guys want help with anything, make sure you guys send me a message inside the chat. I'm a completely open book. Feel free to message me any questions you have. And if you want to set up a strategy call, it's completely free, no strings attached. You'll also see a link inside there as well at the bottom in the description. You guys can book a strategy call with me and we can see if it's a good fit for us to work together, right? But I know that I can save you thousands of dollars on the front end, and having us help you and walk you through the process is going to be absolutely Very, very important for your success. Again, we have 27 full-time employees here, and then we have 3,000 students that are doing really well. Love to have you part of our team, part of our family. I appreciate watching. As always, 360 B&B Solutions is here to help you be successful, to help you in your journey, especially if you're brand new. You want to make sure you're guided and doing it the right way. God bless, be safe. Look down there, you'll see the link for the document that I gave you guys, and then book your free strategy call inside the description. See you guys. Bye.